Welcome to Awakening You channel. If you appreciate what we do, please support us. Thank you. Dear ones, I am Archangel Michael. Continuing, another interesting point about the soul. I was asked this question a while ago, but I'm going to get back to the subject, because it's very interesting, and it's worth understanding how it works. Before starting the subject, I need to go back a while. There was a time when he was taught by his religions that the sexual act was an ugly thing, something not very blessed, and that its purpose was only procreation. Interestingly, at that time, pleasure was always allowed for men, because without it there was no procreation, but women were not allowed to do so. Any woman who felt pleasure was condemned, because that was something for women who didn't belong to the family. I will still talk about the strength of women in this entire context, that is not the case here. But it was precisely to take away women's strength that this was all propagated, this was all disseminated so that that moment, which I have already mentioned here too, would not happen. And her souls were unable to reach that peak of energy, with both of them orgasming. But procreation has always been and always will be in the same way. Despite all the evolution of science, today babies are already generated outside of natural conception, through artificial processes, in which fertilization takes place, but not inside the woman's body, but outside. But the generation of a being is always the same way, it needs a piece of the mother, and a piece of the father. There is no other way to do it, whether naturally or artificially generated. Very good. So let's understand the following. I already mentioned this, that you all carry little packages that come from your ancestors. So at the moment when there is fertilization, when that being is generated, when those two cells, half mother, half father, come together and begin to form a new being, there is half of the father's package and half of the mother's package. Very good. This brings the entire genetic load of the ancestors, not loads of soul, loads of feelings, characteristics, customs, many things. I already explained this here too, but the idea here is not to talk about it, the idea is why do you have children? Is this a random thing or is it a planned thing? Does Alma plan? But let's think about the following, a being is made up of two. So there is no point in a soul saying to the karmic council, I want to be a mother or I want to be a father. Alone, they will be nothing. I am speaking here in terms of the generation of new beings. Being a father or being a mother, literally, in the context of the word, is another aspect that I will also talk about this week. So let's go. It is not a unilateral decision. Of course, when the soul is about to incarnate, the karmic council asks, do you want to be a mother, do you want to be a father? And if that is an affirmative answer, this is passed on to the universe, and the universe takes care of making that happen. Well, then we also need to talk about the union between souls. How do souls come together? Souls are united by physical factors of your own human consciousness. Due to factors that are often even genetic, it may also have some influence, and due to the path of the two souls. Very good. Then you will ask me, but do we choose who we are going to relate to when we incarnate? This is not a rule, because there is a context there are lessons to be learned. I said this yesterday. So, except in those cases in which I also commented, that two souls agree to come together, to have new beings, there is no determination, I'm going to have a child with this other soul. This doesn't exist. So, the path of each soul determines what will happen. I already told you here that the greatest law of the universe is the law of action and reaction. So you can follow that script, and within that script, you find a compatible soul, in which you will be very happy and have many children, or you can follow those shortcuts, that deviation from the path that has nothing to do with that itinerary, and on this new path meet new people. It all depends on your free will and the decisions you make. So, when a soul decides with the karmic council, I want to have 2 children. Very good. The karmic council passes this on to the universe, and the universe is responsible for putting together a puzzle to find a soul that is compatible with yours, and that also wants to have 2 children, and that both are very close in that script line, in which the script for both is very similar, energetically speaking. Then families are created. The children are generated and they are very happy couples, because that was a harmonious meeting of 2 souls, who understood each other. Yes, there is no such thing as perfection in a relationship, but it was a respectful, loving relationship that lasted a long time. He produced healthy children and everything is going according to plan. Many know couples like this, who lived a lifetime, had many children and were very happy. Very good. But, as I said here, there is free will and you love to take shortcuts, they love to leave that determination that their own soul made. You often enter into certain relationships that are extremely complicated. Then, you ask, why are they so complicated? Now my brothers, I think it is not very difficult to understand, it's your soul, trying to tell you, look, this isn't good. This isn't good for you. Get out. Get out of it. But you, because of those feelings of pride, of stubbornness, insist, persist and enter into extremely painful relationships. Complicated and painful, why? Because, that one wasn't good for you and it was said from the beginning. My brothers, there is something very easy to understand in your journey. Everything that is good, that will bring good fruit in the future, it comes to you with incredible ease, and everything happens easily. Now, what starts to get complicated, what you start and finish, begin and end, you can be sure that it will never work. There is only one case in which this could work, is that if that walk, it is part of a lesson that both have to learn, and if they are both able to learn that lesson, so yes, I can tell you that this relationship has some chance of working, but whether they both actually learned their lesson. Otherwise, you will be insisting on something that will have no future. Understand my brothers, relationships are not easy, and they are the ones that, I can say, guide the evolution of a soul. Because it is through relationships that all feelings are experienced, there is love, there is anger, there is hate, there is revenge, there is submission, there is domination, there is everything, all feelings are involved in a relationship, through relationships. And there is another very important factor in all of this, in which I will remind you again that you emanate and you receive it back. So, you have a bad relationship that didn't work out. Then you finished. Very good. Correct action. But then you start to say, I'm not lucky with anyone. Oh, I don't get along with anyone. Oh, I can't find anyone good. Oh, I'm not lucky. I'm terrible at loving people. I only love the wrong people. Look how many decrees you made. The universe took note of them all. So what does the universe do? Send you more and more of it. So each time you will have relationships, increasingly tangled, increasingly worse, and you will never find a good relationship, as long as you don't change your vibration. So this is one point. But I'm not here to talk about relationships, I'm about to talk about shortcuts you take. And then in the middle of this shortcut, a sun happens. Often, with a person you didn't expect, often with a person who was not a better person, and so on. Very good. We can say that his soul wanted to have a child and his soul also wanted to have a child, or her soul, it depends on who is listening to this video. So a child ends up being created, and since that relationship is already complicated, what will happen? It will be another child who will be raised far from a father or mother. Far away, physically speaking, because I can also tell you that there are many parents who do not live with their children and who are more parents than those who do. This also exists. But that's another topic. This is another matter. Then the children happen. So my brothers, planning for children is often a soul thing, and often it is not. Many times, when you souls are asked, do you want to have children, you answer, I don't know. Very good. So this will be up to your experience. You could go through that entire incarnation without having a child, and in between you want to have one, why not? So this is very variable. Now another very important aspect, which Alma will come as his son. How this soul is defined? Well, you mother, you have lessons to learn in relation to children, you father, you have lessons to learn in relation to children. Then these lessons are added together and a soul is sought so that it can be the provocateur of these lessons. Then a soul is chosen that fits everything you have to learn. Understand, it is not a soul from your family, from the past, it may even be, this does not prevent a soul from back there, from your own soul lineage, from returning, no, it doesn't prevent it. This is not impossible, but it is not a rule. Then a soul is chosen and comes in this new being. And this soul will bring lessons to mother and father, and then there are all sorts of relationships between parents and children, which you often don't understand. You have more than one child, all created the same, and one is always the most rebellious. The one who seems like he is not your child, because he really is a different soul. It was not a soul created from you, a mother and a father, it is an independent soul that also came there to learn the same lessons that you have to learn. You will go through the same lesson together. So you have children, as you like to say, good ones, and you have those who are more rebellious, who are usually the ones who come with the hardest lessons, where you have to make the love you have even more valuable. And then things happen, exceptional children, sick children, children who are born and die, children who die before being born, children who become bad-natured people, and so on. I would stay here talking the whole time. Many of you blame yourself for your children's path. Ah, but that's not what I taught. Really, that was a soul that was already distorted, she passed through your hands to learn love and find herself, but it wasn't enough for her. That feeling of following the wrong path was greater than your love, because she already came with that. So often, don't blame yourself so much for what your children decide, for what their children choose to follow as their path. They are independent souls, who came to you to try to improve. No, do not feel guilty for not being able to make this soul better, it's often really difficult. She has to incarnate many times, with many extremely loving families, for her to change. So don't blame yourself so much. It's her choice. You do not determine the path of your children. Of course, you create awareness, you give education, you show the best way. This is the role of a father and a mother. Now the walk of that soul, you don't know which one it is, which it has been. So, many times, Alma has already come up with the script, and you don't know it. Often, it is a soul that has more negative feelings than positive ones, and that your love can change something, but not completely. So my brothers, it is a matter of the wisdom of the universe. Who will you generate? This is not defined by you. Ah, I'm going to have a son like this, baked. No, 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 this is defined by the logic of the universe, and by the logic of the lessons that you, parents, and that your children have to pass along with you. So this is one point. Many have asked me, children born from violence, who did not ask to come into the world, were they not generated with love? This is a very important point. When you generate, no, let's put it like this, you can generate a child with love, wanting to generate that child, or at least it was generated at a time when you were both very happy, there was love in that act, at the time of that being's generation. It was a surprise, but he was very well accepted, he was very well loved. So this already creates an atmosphere of calm within that soul. That soul knows that it will be born in a loving environment, in a balanced environment, because both are already loving it. Then she will come knowing that she will be surrounded by lots of love. In any other case where generation happens, and that is not welcome, either by one or both. Remember, that being has a connection with the two that generated it. So, when one of the two rejects, the being feels it. So that soul already knows that it will have some lessons to learn and overcome in relation to the love of one of those parents. It will hardly be a fully balanced soul, it will depend on the love for two, which the one who creates it will have to give it. For example, if the father abandoned him, the mother will have to have love as a father and mother, so that that soul feels fully loved, don't feel rejected. And in the same way, when a mother abandons, the father will have to give love doubly in the same way. Realize there are different types of feelings. There is abandonment, there is the death of a parent, but then it's different, because that soul knows that it was generated with love, it just lost, because it was part of life to lose, but the one who stays will also have to give double love so that that soul can remain balanced. Understand, my brothers, everything has consequences. Any act you take has consequences. This one then. Then what happens? Very young, due to irresponsibility, they think they can bring children into the world, and parents create. What feeling is this soul that is coming there feeling? Because it is being generated for the sake of being generated, there is no true love in that generation. So it will be a very complicated soul, because it has not received love from either side. Everything will have to be overcome a lot, for this soul to return to balance. And then we can talk about violence. Of a soul that was generated by violence, for an act of violence. Telling you that you have to love. Whoever suffers this act, in this case the woman who suffers this act, has to love this child, regardless of how he was generated. It is very complicated. But I can only say this is a very profound lesson that this mother has to learn. She didn't go through this for nothing. All women who experience this type of violence have a lesson to learn. No, I'm not going to say here what the rule is, because there are many facts that can lead a soul to suffer rape. This soul may have committed several things in past lives and decided that in this one, it would feel the pain of that moment. In the vast majority of cases, that is. There were men in other lives who committed countless moments of violence, and who decide that in this life, they will come as women to feel exactly what they caused. Then I ask that question, did it help? Did suffering in the flesh, the same moment, help? Has the lesson been learned? I can almost say no, because it is a moment of extreme violence, and one that will be marked forever. But it is you who decide, and you have free will. So there it is. So how can we love this being that was generated in this way? Many can't handle it and really take these beings away. I have already said here that I do not speak of, do not condemn, nor support this type of practice. It's each person's decision, and everything has consequences. It is not because I taught that you have to ask for forgiveness from the souls that you aborted, that you will now abort every moment, and then ask for forgiveness. That's not exactly how it works, my brothers. It is not how it works. The deed is done, and this has negative points, of course. You took a life. It's as if you didn't kill physically, because there was no act of killing you seeing the person in front of you, but you killed a defenseless being. But there's no way to say it any other way, you killed that human outfit, and you caused trauma to that soul. There's no way. Asking her for forgiveness is what everyone has to do, ask for forgiveness from that soul that they did not allow to be born, but the deed is done. That's on your wall of the actions you've done during your existence. That is marked. This does not go unpunished. It's not because you asked for forgiveness that everything is forgotten. Ah, the universe forgot. No, no. You ask for forgiveness, so that you can continue the journey, but the act is there. It's like a black spot on that mural of yours. Now I can tell you one thing, no one can judge themselves or anyone else, because the vast majority of you have a black spot on your wall. The vast majority have already killed someone, at some point in their existence, in their soul, already killed someone. So no one can point the finger at anyone. But back to the topic. So this being that was generated in this way will probably be an extremely sad and possibly violent soul, because all that energy that was imposed in that act passes to this soul. It was the package that the father passed on, violence, submission, and the mother, the fear, the pain passes. Then realize what was passed on to this soul. Then many will ask, which soul will fit into all this? Is there any soul that comes with so much suffering? Yes, of course it exists. There are souls who need these lessons to evolve, to overcome certain things, because this soul will have to live with this, and will have to overcome it. So my brothers, nothing happens by chance. There is no such thing as a random pregnancy. Ah, it happened. No, no, in the sense that that soul that is being generated there did not come out there, by chance, she was planned to fit into that situation, from that couple that generated her. So, depending on the situation in which that being is generated, a soul is attached there exactly to fulfill the lesson that already came from the moment of generation. And it's like I said, the entire generation is accompanied by the soul, because many are also made with love and then one of the parents abandons them, and the soul feels all of this. She is not sleeping there without realizing what is happening, she knows exactly what's going on. Remember, souls are not babies, souls are lived souls, old souls, for the most part. I'm going to take out the souls that are coming from outside here, as this will be another point that I will talk about souls. So, my brothers, there it is, the generation of children, how it happens. So be responsible for how you are raising these children. What feeling are you giving to these children? What type of soul are you attracting at that moment? Think about it. I am Archangel Michael. I'm here, trying to show you some very important acts that you experience on a daily basis.